So, hello ladies and gentlemen, hang on. Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Tom Burns and I'm here to do this video, top 10 worst PS2 games of all time. Now, there's a very big possibility I might disagree with a couple of these because I played a shit ton of PS2. I mean, it was my main it has been my main console. It was the console I had for the longest. Actually, no, that's not necessarily true. I've had an Xbox 360 since I was 16, so I've had that for 8 years. Possibly my second longest console I've ever had, and I played a shit ton of PlayStation 2 games, more than I played of Xbox 360 games, and there is a very big possibility I might disagree with a couple of these. So let's go and let's see what games are included. Oh dear.
Hello there, welcome to another episode of the True Gamer Top 10, and today we're going to take a look at the top 10 worst PS2 games of all time. That's right, the PlayStation 2 console. What were the top 10 worst, most awful games? Number 1, The Getaway. Came out in 2002. One of the most disappointing games in history. The Getaway was an ambitious third-person shooter sandbox-style PS2 exclusive. Starting with its problematic development, which delayed release for over 2 years, The Getaway featured a convoluted storyline, confusing vehicular controls, and lack of depth in the actual gameplay. Instead of bringing a unique experience, this was your typical GTA clone that were so common in the early 2000s. Number 2, Madden NFL 2005 came out in 2004. By the early mid-2000s, the Madden NFL series was known for being a copy-and-paste franchise, constantly rehashing gameplay year after year after year with minimal new features. Madden 2005 had a crappy soundtrack, unrealistic graphics, and extremely easy AI. If you wanted a better football experience on the PS2, then ESPN NFL 2K5 was way superior and only cost around $20 at launch. Number 3, Kingdom Hearts came out in 2002. An incredibly boring action RPG, Kingdom Hearts felt like a cheap gimmick between JRPG publisher Square and children's cartoon company Disney. The art style was garbage, the voice acting sucked, and the orchestral soundtrack is annoying at best. The worst part about the game is the simplistic and tedious gameplay, which isn't fun and felt more like a big waste of time. Number 4, WWE SmackDown Here Comes the Pain.
Stop this right now because I really do disagree with this guy about this. I do not care what he says about this game. I disagree with it because SmackDown Here Comes the Pain was one of the first wrestling games that I bought. I've been buying them every year since, and I have to disagree with what this guy is going to say about this game because it was not terrible in the slightest. And that's not me being a WWE fanboy. That is me just being realistic. I mean, the last game, Kingdom Hearts, one thing I will say about that is my mate who loves the Kingdom Hearts series, absolutely loves Kingdom Hearts 1, and he's a very, very good judge of games. So for this guy to say that the game's garbage is probably just because he doesn't like the game and isn't very good at it. But anyway, SmackDown Here Comes the Pain, I have to disagree. Don't care what he says about it. It isn't a terrible game. Probably one of the best games I played on the PlayStation 2, and that is no joke.
While pro wrestling in the WWE was still somewhat popular during the ruthless aggression era of the early 2000s, the games took a huge nosedive with Here Comes the Pain. A very limited roster that featured very few legends, slow gameplay, lackluster modes, and the weakest wrestler of all time, Brock Lesnar, on the cover. Many of the best wrestlers are also missing, including Seth Rollins, Daniel Bryan, Dean Ambrose, and Roman Reigns. Number 5, Dragon Quest VII.
I think this guy's some kind of retard because when this Here Comes the Pain game came out, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and Dean Ambrose weren't even about. Roman Reigns was in football, Dean Ambrose was on the independent scene, and so was Seth Rollins. I don't even know if they were on the independent scene all the way back then. This guy's deluded.
Journey of the Cursed King came out in 2004. One of the crappiest games in JRPG history. This is your typical grindfest, tedious experience from Square Enix. The cel-shading art style is so played out by the mid-2000s, and then you got the storyline, which is a complete bore-fest. The saving system is far too limited, and the gameplay feels so outdated that it's basically just an early 90s JRPG with 3D graphics. Number 6. Jak and Daxter, the Precursor Legacy, came out in 2001. By the early 2000s, platform games have become tired and out of style. The first Jak and Daxter is no exception, featuring the same typical jumping around, exploration gameplay of many platform games we've seen a million times in the past. Horrible camera angles, not enough boss fights, way too much slowdowns during the action, and the frustrating load times kills the entire experience. Number 7. Final Fantasy X came out in 2001. When it comes to overhyped franchises, Final Fantasy was one of the worst offenders in gaming history. Yes, FF10 featured impressive graphics and slick-looking cutscenes, but that's about the only positive things that you can say. The gameplay is tedious and lacking innovation, the dialogue is horrendous, the mini-games and the puzzle segments were completely pointless, and the linear presentation is uninspired. Number 8. Shadow of the Colossus came out in 2005. I can appreciate Team Ico's effort and Sony's desire to crank out more original games like Shadow of the Colossus, but this was a complete failure. The massive world of the Forbidden Land, which you have to explore, is completely empty and lifeless, with no other characters to interact with, excluding your horse Agro and the Colossus boss fights themselves. The soundtrack is annoying and obnoxious, the controls feel clumsy and unresponsive, and the frame rate gets so freaking choppy and annoying during the actual Colossus battles. Number 9. Sly 2, Band of Thieves, came out in 2004. One of the worst sequels in the PS2 era, Band of Thieves featured a bunch of third-rate anthropomorphic animals that steals items. The game is obviously a bad example for kids, teaching young children that it's okay to steal and promotes thievery. The worst part of Sly 2 is that it continues promoting the disgusting furry movement, showing sexualized female characters like Carmelita Fox as some sort of sick fetish for all these pathetic, basement-dwelling nerds with no girlfriends. Number 10. God of War came out in 2005. When it comes to originality, Sony is completely bankrupt of having any. The original God of War from 2005 is nothing but a cheap clone of older games such as Rygar and Devil May Cry, from its health bar system, level structure, saving system, and a giant boss fights. There's nothing new to see here. Kratos is one of the lamest characters in history because his story and the entire ancient Greek background has been overused time and time again. Alright, so that's it. That's the top 10.
Okay, well, I'm not even going to listen to what he has to say to do after that video, because this guy is obviously some kind of deluded fucking retard, because I disagree with pretty much everything. Maybe 4 out of the 10 games I disagree with. Here Comes the Pain, Final Fantasy X, Shadow of the Colossus, and what was the other one? There was another one. Oh, and Kingdom Hearts. Disagree with them being in there. I don't even know what to say. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you disagree with the games as much as I do. I honestly didn't expect to disagree with as many as I did, because usually when people make these kind of videos like this, with, top 10 worst video games, or, something like this, usually they're quite spot on. Not this guy. He's some kind of deluded retard. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you.